Okay, in this brief recording, we're going to show you how what our expectations are on your bound design diagram. So far, we have been quite lenient when we grade your bound design diagram because you're still getting used to draw.io. But from now on, you should really pay attention to every detail of your design diagram. It should be professional and it should really be readable as well. Okay, so this is simply just one example bound diagram. We just want to use it to illustrate a few points that we think are important. Of course, you should also pay attention to every other detail. Okay, for this bound diagram here, first of all, if you look at the overall structure here, every time when you are done with your diagram, you should really try to print it out in a single page and try to ask yourself, is it really readable in a single page? If it is not, for example, the font is too small, or the font, or maybe the font size is really not readable, in that case, you really reconsider organizing your diagram. Maybe it's not necessarily all the classes should be presented in a detailed view. Maybe some less important classes, they should be presented in a compact view as well. Okay, and let me just go over maybe a few points in this particular diagram over here. Okay, first of all, let's take a look. You can see in this diagram over here at some part you can see there are some details over here. So these may just be some objects you copy and paste from the draw.io program. So these do not really belong to your design, so they should not be there, right? So you be careful. And also you can see for the arrows for inheritance or client supplier, you can see the arrow actually does not point exactly to the edge of the class boxes. And also, yeah, as I said before, the diagram should be clear when printed to just a single page. And right now, if you try to print it out, it's actually unreadable. Okay. And you can also use maybe subsequent, let's say if you submit your design diagram, you can say the first page should be the bound diagram. Maybe the subsequent pages, they could be appendices for more details if you wish. But the first page should be self-contained and readable. And you can look at, let's look at other things. You can see also here the model and the model axis. So these really do not belong to any of the arrows for the architecture. So they should not be there either. And you can see in this particular class, for example, stationary star, you can see under invariant, it does not really present any useful and informative invariant. It simply is an invariant clause and then true. So this is not useful at all. So that's not acceptable. Okay, you should really present some meaningful contracts, integrity property for your classes or precondition, postcondition. Okay. Okay, let me go a little bit down over here, and you can see over here. Let me just make it a little bit smaller, the diagram, so you can see the whole picture. Okay, so now let's take a look at this particular class over here on the right-hand side. And if you take a look at that, the Planet Plus class over here, it looks to us all the features you have actually, okay, all the features that are included is quite a long list over here. And none of them actually got any comments or contracts. So it's really difficult for us to figure out what's going on in this particular class. Okay, you can see no comments, also no contracts. It's really hard to understand the essence for this particular class. And it seems like for this particular, whoever was drawing this diagram, they simply just go to the contract view or maybe go to interface or chart view of the iFlow Studio and simply copy and paste without creating an abstraction. So the very important message here is about abstraction. So for your bound diagram, it is supposed to be an abstraction to filter out all the irrelevant details from your interpretation. You shouldn't just copy and paste. You should be selective, showing a particular thought view of your design. And then let's see this particular example here. Okay, you can see, of course, you should really divide your classes into different sections. You can see this particular feature section is commands. Command means you're trying to change something of your object states. But now you can see here has yellow drop over here. It doesn't quite make sense because that one simply just take a Boolean variable without returning anything. Right? So now it seems to us has a yellow drop. The name suggests it should be a query returning a Boolean rather than a command that takes a Boolean. So this is also could be also, again, it's just copy and paste or simply without paying too much attention to the detail. Okay. And again, you can see for the class invariant over here, it simply just say, okay, let me just go a little bit up. You can see the invariant, simply invariant class true. Again, it's not informative at all. Okay, you should really try to avoid that. And you can see here for sector plus, and we see many other occasions, also direction utility plus. You can see here, we also got some stuff that should belong to the class over here. And you shouldn't really put end. End is more like a programming construct that's in your IFO code. But now, since we are doing design diagram, so this end should not be even there. And even if it should be there, you can see that should be within the box. You can see the comments over here goes outside the box. So you should have fixed that kind of issue here. So the diagram really lacks professionalism in it. Okay, so now let's see if there's anything else. And if you look at this, for example, random generator over here, and also this create also is not necessary. That's just declaring which command should be the constructor. But when you present design diagram, you don't need this level of implementation detail. And let me also show you some design flaw that's really important to notice. Okay, let me just go over here. If you look at this particular class called Galaxy. Okay, you look at, okay, let me just go a little bit up over here. Design flaw. Okay, so now let's look at this. You can see there is a client-supplier relation over here, the green arrow over here, right? So this means this end is the clients, and this end, where the arrow goes, should be the supplier. But now currently, you actually got, let me just make it a little bit smaller so you can see the big picture. So currently, you can see that we have the class called Galaxy over here at the top. And then Galaxy is a client of ETF command, so that's completely wrong. What you really want to do is you actually want to make sure the model does not depend on any of the user commands. So these are the abstract UI. So, but on the other hand, the abstract UI should depend on the model. So you can see the client supplier error is completely wrong. Okay. So this is something you also want to pay attention to over here. Okay, that's what we said over here. It's a design flaw over here. Let me again you can see the arrow over here is also not pointing to the border. Again, that's something you should have fixed. But the main design flaw is really common here. The model should not depend on the user commands. Okay, I think that's about it. And then okay, so finally, what can be a guiding principle for you to create professional documents, including diagram? I'll refer you to our course wiki over there. If you go to the course wiki for the course, and then you will see there's a tab over here called Bond Design Documents. If you go there and then go to the end, you can see there's a section there called Earning a Grade for your SDD, System Design Documents, including your bond diagram. If you go there, you can see, so here we simply give you letter grades for like a qualitative description of what your diagram should achieve. Let me just go over with you. In order to earn an A, what should your diagram really be like? Okay, the software design documents provides an excellent description of the high-level organization of the system as well as individual components, which means it should be an abstraction of the features rather than just copy and pasting the implementation details into the diagram. It should show a selective view of your design so that reader can easily comprehend what's going on in your design. And second point, the components are organized in a cohesive and maintainable architecture. So you should really show all the client supplier and also inheritance relationship properly. Again, the model should not depend on the user commands, but user command are supposed to depend on the model, the design flaw that we talked about previously. And also design decisions are sufficiently justified, so information hiding or single choice principle, you should really try to justify them why your design satisfy them. They should be clearly specified in your report. And also diagrams are informative at the right level of abstraction, so you should really show, if you go back to the diagram over here, in some cases, for some classes that are not so important in terms of the functionality, you can show them in compact views. But in others, which will contain important contract, they should be shown in detailed view. So you should really make a balance between them. In the current diagram, almost all the classes are shown in the detailed view. However, even in the detailed view, as we show you, for example, the class invariant, they simply show true. So that's not meaningful at all. Okay, let's go back here. And then the design is feasible and correct. Of course, you want to make sure you can pass all the acceptance test cases. How do we know that? We'll run the regression test on your software to make sure it provides exactly the same output as the Oracle. Okay, and meaningful specification designed by contracts are provided for the most important components. So again, you can see here, if you simply say over here, again, let me emphasize that again. If you simply say class invariants, okay, let me just go to one of them where it shows class invariant true. Okay, you can see, for example, this invariant over here, you simply say it's true. So that's not meaningful. Okay, you want to show really using proper mathematical notation if appropriate, and also show all the important contracts. You don't have to show all of them, but just a selective portion of your contracts. Okay, and professional presentation, that's also important. You want to make sure when you print out the first page of your down-bound diagram in one page, in that case, it should be readable with a reasonable font size. It should not be cramped together and should not be fuzzy.